Okay. Heavens above. Thank you all so very much for your patience. I know that it is tough to hear if you are on Zoom. So I promise you we're going to be doing our best to project to the mics that are on the tables, and we will do our best here. So thank you so much for your patience. And then, let's see, Zach, let's see, are you still? He dropped, okay. Interesting, okay. Well, if Zach gets back, we will address that then. Okay, since Rhonda is not here, I hereby call the meeting to order as secretary at 7:06 p.m. We, at this quarterly board meeting, are going to just be going through just some updates on the current status of where this board is at with regards to managing AIM's operations at this time. We're going to welcome some new board members, approve the past meeting minutes as a block, give an update on our strategic Get Well plan progress, planning, have some updates on the finances and fundraising, updates on production and communications and producers rep matters. There will also be some time for public comment, and then we will close the meeting. We've also got some motions on the board, and that is the overall summary of where we're at with what we're going to be doing at this meeting. So first order of business is to please join me in welcoming new board members, Jennifer Heimstra, Zach Jones, Donald Masters, and Dan Rigo. They are our new board members who are filling vacancy positions, and we have Dan and Jennifer, aka JC, here in person, and Don Masters is with us via Zoom. And let's see. Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Steph. And then, yeah, so we're so thrilled to be having them to help out with the board matters, and really appreciate their ability to, sorry, there's too many things going on my screen at the moment, so I'm just going to simplify a little bit. Really appreciate their willingness to step up and help lead at this time. Okay, so now after quite a lot of minutes wrangling that I've done, I have shared all of the past meeting minutes from board meetings and admin committee meetings and a couple of governance committee meetings from the past several months since December. I've shared those with the board, and should we approve them to be officially the minutes on the record, then I will start the process for putting those on AIM's website and making them publicly available to members as they all should be. So does anybody want to put forward a motion to approve the past meeting minutes as a block?
I make a motion to approve the board meeting minutes.
Awesome. Amanda moves. Anyone second?
I'll second.
JC seconds. And all in favor of approving the past meeting minutes as a block, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Don, do we have an aye from you?
I wasn't at any of the meetings, so I don't know that it would be appropriate for me to vote aye. But if you need that for approval, I can do that.
So long as you've had the chance to, if you've had the chance to review them and feel confident about that, you are also certainly welcome to abstain or say nay, whatever you feel good with. We do have a majority.
I'll abstain.
Alrighty. Otherwise, the ayes have it, and motion passed. Awesome. Okay. In the absence of, let me just write that In the absence of Rhonda giving an update from the president of the board, I just wanted to put Jennifer on the spot. And because she's going to be leading the charge to facilitate the strategic Get Well plan efforts. So if you could, would you be willing to just give a brief outline of what your plan for how to bring people together and get some momentum going?
Sure. So the plan is for the board to get together and I'm going to be holding kind of a facilitation, brainstorming event, prioritization, so that we have a short-term to medium-term tactical game plan of the things that we need to accomplish within the next 3 to 6 months as we move forward as AIM to get us both prepared for being on air again, as well as all the different supporting activities that need to either commence or continue on. So the idea is by the end of that working session, we'll have identified some leads to take for each of these tactical items. And then we can work with the community to get additional volunteers to help us out with that plan. Eventually, we want to get to the point where we can develop a longer-term strategic plan, but we really need to focus on the short-term for Get Well strategies. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, really, really looking forward to that. Oh, thank you for the lights. Incredible. Yeah, really looking forward to that strategy session and getting some very specific goals with specific timelines and things like that in proper place.
For the board members, just please keep an eye out. Tomorrow I'm going to be sending out an email with a couple of different options for next week to meet. So if you can take a look at those times and see what works best for you, it will be in the evening. And then we'll select a date and make a plan. And it's going to be in person, so preferably.
Awesome. Fabulous. The next item of business is a number of motions from the treasurer. So Amanda, take it away.
All right. So one of the things that was discovered in going through the bills was that there is an American Express card that is at a very large number in balance, all of AIM's purchases. However, when the card was opened, it became attached to Linda Lawson personally. So I am making a motion to request that the board approve the campaign to raise the money to relieve Linda Lawson of this debt. It's going to be in the ballpark of $15,000. So, but it's something that we cannot spiritually do. We can't let Linda's family suffer this. So that's my motion.
Motion to request that the board approves the campaign to raise money to relieve Linda Lawson's debt. I would like to move.
Second.
Okay. And all in favor of this motion, say aye. Aye.
I have a question.
Yes.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So, does that mean that we prioritize that bill, that expense,
Yes. That one expense will become the priority right now because it is, when it was opened, it was done with the 0% interest for 1 year and the year is up. So it is now accruing interest and we've got to get it paid as quickly as possible. And we're having, so we're going to do it through donations to AIM and then AIM will pay the bill on Linda's behalf.
Another question, just generally, I don't want details at all, but what kind of expenses were incurred in that 15,000?
I I can't speak to it, I have not read the bills, but I know that there was a conference that they had to attend, and, you know, I would assume, so there's some travel, and then there is likely purchases for the office. What I have now learned is that the card came about at a point when there was not a lot of operations cash. So, and it was supposed to be, like everybody falls into, it was supposed to be a short-term thing. It was supposed to be used a couple of times and then paid, and it didn't happen. Yes.
Am I allowed to ask a question?
Sure, why not?
Can you ask it to the
We're going rogue.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Randy, and I have a question that might be not kosher. So my question is, I agree that Linda should not have to front that, but couldn't it be taken out of perhaps a compensation package that had gone to the former executive director, which probably shouldn't, can the money be found somewhere else, such as?
Well, there is no money anywhere else right now.
So there's the compensation package that was delivered to somebody, it can't come out of that, or?
But
Or
I don't have that money. So the money AIM has no money right now to pay this debt. And if we're not in a position, in my opinion, spiritually, we're not in a position to get into trying to crawl back money that's already gone.
Are we in a position to sell some of our equipment so we can do this?
That's going to be something that I'm looking into. Yeah, I mean, it's
Okay,
not.
I raised that motion then.
This is Don Masters. I understand Linda's here tonight.
Yes.
Can she speak to who approved her getting a credit card or getting the credit card and why she did that on her own?
Can we just get back to the motion is really about whether or not the board is going to approve a campaign to raise funds for this debt. It's not really the purpose to find out why it happened. I offered some details just so it would be clear, but it's not really about why it happened. That can be, you know, if somebody would like to have a private discussion about that, that's fine. But she's already extended a great, I don't even know what to call it, by allowing for her name to be used in this very sensitive situation. She did not want it to be, she didn't want it to get this far, but this is where we are. So I would say, like, can we please not get into a discussion about why this happened?
And Don, I'm happy to talk to you offline about it if you want, or anyone. People know how to get a hold of me.
Just one quick question, and I apologize because I'm new.
No, it's okay.
And who is she? Is she was she a staff member? Was she?
Linda? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so she was a
Yes,
staff
she's a
member.
staff member.
Yes.
She was.
Was.
Okay.
I refer to her as is, but
Cool.
that's because I feel like when you join AIM, you're in it for life. So did we conclude the motion?
We have not officially voted yet, and that is also my fault for not putting forth time for a little bit of discussion. So, I moved and Jennifer seconded. So are we feeling good about discussion-wise? And also thank you for joining us again, Zach. Really appreciate you being here. Okay, so motion for, we shall do the vote for the motion to request that the board approve the campaign to raise money to relieve Linda Lawson's debt.
I do have a
Yes?
question.
Oh, one more question.
One more question.
Can you say it very loud into the
Okay.
mic?
My understanding was that, right or wrong, the promise had been made, according to what you wrote in your draft letter, that when the next increment of funding was to come from the county, that 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 was going to be used to cover the amount, well, that's what your letter said. And
I'll have to go back and read it. I don't believe I would have written it that way because it's not, it was never gonna be
No,
the case.
my understanding was that that was part of the original rationale for having taken out the credit card in the first place, was that it would have been.
yeah.
Right, that's
But-
a separate issue than what I'm talking about. That's a different.
Well, if you'll allow me to
Sure.
finish, I don't see it as entirely separate. I'm not against the idea of trying to do something to help now. I want to make that clear to you. But if the money comes after the audit in such a way that it would have been the amount that was originally intended to cover it, as Claire just said, then can we arrange things such a way that that would be covered back again in the way it was supposed to originally? In other words, could this be a temporary help until things are resolved as they were supposed to be resolved in the first place?
I can't speak to that because I actually don't know that that was something that was going to be covered by county funds.
Yeah, I can speak to this a little bit. So the county funds come from two buckets. One is operational, and this would be the operational bucket. And the operational funds are not given to AIM with specific dollar amounts for specific items. It's just a bucket of money that's given, and operations is determined by the organization. So in this case, we would be effectively fundraising into the operational fund, prioritizing that money goes to pay off this debt that the organization owes, even though it's structured as though an employee owes it. And then any money that comes from the county is still just operational money that goes into the same bucket.
And the issue with waiting is just that, waiting. And I'm of two minds of that. One is it just creates a higher debt. It just puts Linda's family in a different position. And then also, I'll be critical of myself and the board, which is that we need to start doing. And this is something we can do and we should do. And waiting is not going to make the situation any easier or any better or any happier. It's a terrible, terrible situation. And, but this is one thing that I think that this board and this community can actually do in a timely manner, and it will set a nice tone for the collaboration that AIM is supposed to be. You know, we're supposed to be a community that takes care of one another. And so, you know, I don't, whether or not it was in a bucket for some county funds, I don't know that it's there anymore.
Okay, the sentence in your letter says the action was taken because they thought they were helping AIM to continue operate when their funds were low and believed that the bill would be paid as soon as the next quarterly funding installment arrived. That's what it said in your draft. That's what I was referencing. Now, whether that's true or not is another question, I suppose, but.
Right, and that was what, I think that's what they were led to believe.
Okay,
But I wasn't there at the time, so I don't even know whether or not the
well, then
funding
where
ever
did you
came
get this
in.
information if you didn't?
From talking with Linda.
Okay,
That's what she was told.
I see.
I personally going to deny, that's going to be my, because I do not, I apologize, I'm not sure exactly how, if I am in the position of prioritizing one, that into another. If I were to propose a motion, is that, yes, I would love for AIM to draft some sort of letter acknowledging and recognizing the debt to Linda, because it's not within our EIN, it's not within our balance, correct, at that. So I would vote for such a motion for, yes, we should pay Linda, we should recognize that debt. Shall we prioritize the first $15,000 or whatever to pay for that debt? I don't know, I'm concerned about JPG, concerned about the staff that I'm not sure the status regarding being paid or not. There are many bills outstanding, so I'm not comfortable prioritizing that one specifically. That's just my position. So we are in the middle of a motion, I guess, so my answer is deny, but I would like to propose a new motion to, for that specific point.
What would be then, just for procedure's sake,
Should close out this motion
yeah,
first.
yeah,
And once this is closed out, Dan can move that we formally acknowledge the debt. How that letter's written, we need to research a little bit, but yes, we can write a letter to Linda formally acknowledging the debt, and that could be a separate motion.
yeah. We will, don't worry, Dawn, we will absolutely be repeating the.
There
motion.
is a request to please repeat the motion as it currently stands before voting.
Yes. Okay, so do we need to vote to close the current motion? Or can I just say close?
We should vote
Okay.
on the current motion.
Yes, okay.
And that's what I think Don wants repeated.
Yes, okay, so the current motion that is open right now is request that the board approve the campaign to raise money to relieve Linda Lawson's debt. Should we, as a board, vote to close this motion and be done with that motion and then do Dan's motion? Okay, all in favor of closing this motion?
Well, not closing.
No.
Adopting or rejecting.
Oh, gotcha, okay, so, in that case, all members of the board in favor of adopting this motion, there will be a time where you can say aye in favor, nay, or abstain. Hang on, I'm seeing stuff in the chat. Okay, so, reading the motion, sorry, one more time. Motion to request that the board approve the campaign to raise money to relieve Linda Lawson's debt. All in favor, say aye. Aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Were there ayes online from Donna or Zach?
Yes, aye.
Okay, so that was 6. And aye for me as well, so that's a 7. And then, any nays?
Nay.
2 nays. Any abstentions? No one
Claire, I'm
abstains.
not an abstention, but just
Right.
because a lot of new people, as the producers recommend, non-voting member of the board. So I ain't got no vote anyway.
Right. Okay. So the motion does pass, but we can also have Dan introduce a motion. So Dan, what would the text of that motion be?
I don't know. English is not my primary language, so basically it would be aim to formally recognize the debt that we have with Linda Lawson, and for that debt to be included in our balance sheet, and with all the other debtors that we have.
And I think procedurally, we need to do that to pay it. We need to have some record acknowledgement of the fact that it is an organizational debt. So we might as well do it as a motion and vote, and then we have a letter that goes to Linda, separate from the payments process. We acknowledge and then we figure out the payments process.
Gotcha. Okay. So a motion to formally recognize Linda Lawson's debt with American Express as an organizational debt and include it in AIM's balance sheet is the motion we are currently voting on right now. Does anybody move? I believe Dan moved. Dan moved. And does anybody second?
I'll second.
Amanda seconds. All in favor say aye.
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 That is everybody here. And then online,
Aye.
and then Dawn, what was yours? Do you have an aye or a nay? Oh, sorry. Hang on a second. All right. Anyone not in favor say nay. Don, you're pointing
Don,
down,
we can't
but
see your gestures on the screen.
I vote nay.
vote nay. Okay, thank you so much. And any abstentions? No abstains. Okay. So the motion to formally recognize Linda's debt with Amex as an organizational debt and include it in Ames balance sheet passes. Okay. Sorry, admitting people to this room. Okay. Next item of business from Amanda.
It is a motion that the board will create a fundraising committee that includes, in addition to board members, members of the community who have fundraising expertise. And the board will engage with Jackie Stephen and Lynn Borton, who have experience in developing a fundraising plan and have offered to assist with this already. That's a big one, a lot of words.
For context, there has technically been a fundraising committee that was set up at the retreat, but
People left.
This is
Yeah.
a formalizing to really get it cracking,
yes.
as opposed to what being yet another thing that we're all trying to do incrementally. We need help.
Yes. And also people who had been in that committee as of January are no longer on this board. So making it an actual official thing, and many thanks to Jackie Stephen and Lynn Borton who have volunteered to assist with this. So any further discussion, questions? Okay. And so Amanda moves, presumably. Any seconds? Dan seconds. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
That is everybody registered unanimous. Just to check, anyone not in favor say nay. Anyone who wishes to abstain? Hearing none, fabulous. Thank you so much. The motion passes. Awesome. Okay. Next item of business, Amanda.
It may be a little bit redundant now, but I'm moving to create a recovery committee that includes, in addition to board members, members of the community with organizational expertise. This has been, the fundraising and the stabilization plan have been our target, and it's, we need more sharp minds, more ideas of how to place things, and certainly more institutional knowledge of AIM than we currently have on this board. And though we are working on a get well plan, we need this full-on recovery of AIM plan. And I don't feel it's something that should be just left to the board. I feel like it has to have community input.
And are there 2 board members for that committee?
For the recovery committee, it would be a brand new one. We could do 2. Yeah, I don't know.
The bylaws for committees need 2 board members to establish the committee. It doesn't say you can't have other people involved, but it does have a minimum of 2. And then the powers have to be delegated by the general board to the committee. In this case, for fundraising, that's in the name of the committee. Go raise money. For this committee, if you want them to take actions, you should think about enumerated powers that you want the committee to have, and you should think about who the 2 key board members are that will head up that committee.
Okay.
Could I kind of similarly say, I think members of the community, and you probably have this in mind anyway, should definitely include producers in there. Because again, they've got a lot of institutional memory and have had sponsorships and so on and gone out into the community previously. So it's a critical thing to have 1 or 2 of those folks in there.
Absolutely. That's a big part of it is the disconnect.
Yeah.
That, and this is partly why, it was so gracious of Jackie and Lynn to offer to help with the fundraising plans, because they have the connections that we don't. And my goal as, joining the board was to restore the collaboration of AIM, that this needs to be more of a, everyone's working together. That's where I grew up, was in the DIY movement. Everyone pitches in and we make a show. So that's part of the whole thing with the recovery, is the same idea, that we need people who already have connections, who know where we were supported before and can help us get back there, or find, what's the best way to move on now. But I feel like it has to have a structure as in terms of a committee, and it needs to be both sides of it.
I'm also, the idea of it being a committee of the board also means, like, from my perspective as secretary, that there will be official reports, and there will be, it's not just an ad hoc thing that people are kind of doing on the side. It's like a structure and a mission, and yes, that sounds really, really good to me.
Do we need to identify the board members?
At a minimum.
Okay,
At a minimum, the resolution would identify 2 board members to establish the committee.
okay.
And then if you, in the future, want to come back and ask for enumerated powers, that's easy. Otherwise, it comes up or it starts life as an advisory committee to the general board and can bring reports and ask for action here.
Okay. Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that we should probably table until we can identify the members who will
Yeah,
stand in it.
if you want, that's fine too.
Okay.
Unless we have those.
Yeah, unless we have them. I don't know if we have them. I should probably not. Okay, JC will do it.
You have one.
I guess it was my idea, so I'll do it.
Right?
Awesome.
Can you define what recovery committee, what that means?
Question was, can we define what recovery committee means?
Well, I mean, I don't know, and that's partly why I want help. I believe that AIM can get well, and I believe that we will have AIM TV, and we will have WIRA, and we will have classes. And I believe that all of this is going to happen. But we have to recover from an injurious time, and how we do that, I don't know. I don't know I don't know what it's gonna be. So I need some minds to get in there and talk about how to do this. Sure.
We also have a suggestion from Stephen Bergen to consider asking the Alliance for Community Media and some folks involved with that, presumably for guidance, which sounds like an excellent idea to me.
That's on the list.
And they have contacted us and offered assistance.
Awesome, yeah. Cool. Okay, so since we have Jennifer and Amanda as board members establishing this committee, do we feel good to go forward with a motion? Do we? Yeah, okay.
I move.
Amanda moves,
I'll second.
JC seconds. And all in favor say aye.
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 Ayes have it. But just in case, any nays, any abstentions? Fabulous. Great, okay. While we are on the topic of committees and motions, Amanda, once more, I kick it to you.
Thank you. I am moving that the board will reestablish the governance committee to engage a nonprofit leadership coach for the training of board operations. I have very little experience in being on a board, and I would love to be trained, and I think that the board of AIM does need a refresh. It needs to have a new idea of how a board should work. And I think that the best way to do that is to get a neutral third party who can help us understand how to be a true working board. And the governance committee does exist, but it's, there aren't enough of us on the committee anymore to really be in charge of the governance of AIM. And I think that it's not a fair assessment right now without some input.
My question on that front would be, because I'm love the proposition. I also know that oftentimes that comes with a price tag attached, necessarily.
Yep.
So would the part of the governance committee's charge be defined either to fundraise for it or look for
I would look for someone
a
who's
pro
willing
bono?
to donate their expertise and their time. I mean, an expert who does it, but someone who's willing to donate.
Yeah.
And I believe they're out there.
So procedurally, I don't think you need a motion for this one.
All right.
If you're looking for somebody to donate services, as a board member, that is your purview. Any of us can go out and we may have to adopt a motion to accept services, depending on the moving parts, but asking for help, don't need a motion. The governance committee exists, and I think what you should do is get folks through a governance training, and then who wants to be appointed to governance at that point, once they know what it's all about, then appoint those folks to the governance committee. Right now, you may be appointing people to a committee that once they get educated on it, they're like, I don't want to do this. So I would just move it in that direction.
Cool. So there's no motion that has been put forward or seconded. So we've
It's
had
just
some
discussion.
Discussion. Yep.
Cool. Just discussion.
But the discussion
For my
is
notes.
that we are going to explore finding an outside counsel on board governance.
Awesome. That sounds awesome to me.
Then we have that I would making a motion that the board should set a date and a time to meet with Jackie Stephen regarding her institutional knowledge of Arlington independent media and to talk about the foundations of community media in Arlington and the past successes of AIM. This is in large part to, again, that though this board is committed to AIM, we don't have the history that we need to have in order to really lead into the future. So Jackie has offered to just talk with us. It doesn't have to be a formal meeting of any type, but it needs to be something that is set on the calendar and similarly that, as many of us who can be there will be there, because it's important to learn where we've been in order to know where we're going to go.
So, this is more complicated.
You're welcome.
Yeah, anytime more than 2 board of directors people meet, it is a public meeting in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So you could call a special meeting and invite Jackie as the guest of honor, but you would have to ensure that it was advertised and online, and as long as no votes are taken, you don't need quorum. It's just a discussion, and Jackie can be a part of that discussion. But there is some structure that has to happen if more than 2 board members participate.
I kind of think that's a very, very positive thing, because I think it's great. I mean, Jackie knows this place inside out and knows where the tapes are hidden. I mean, literally, there were tapes, and she knew where to find them. It would be great to broaden that as well, so that we look at what AIM was and what AIM could be by bringing in speakers, maybe in the form of a panel or a series of meetings, who are doing things differently as well, doing things newer, doing things better maybe, or maybe we were doing it great. But I would love to see that, where we're getting inputs from other radio stations, other media stations, the association that was just mentioned previously, and make it a broader kind of input of information so that the board has got a whole springboard of stuff to work off.
And like the idea of a listening sessions kind of series.
Who knows? it will, I mean, people who are not a part of AIM will see it and think, huh, I've always wondered what's going on over there. And they'll get more than they bargained for.
So this would be something that would be separate from a formal, recovery committee kind of effort. This would be.
Yeah, the idea of the motion was really to make a commitment.
Yeah.
To doing this.
Yeah.
It's just the sort of thing that when you say it in public, you better do it. So,
I'd recommend talking to Jackie and the Alliance for Community Media and finding a date that works for everybody, that's at least like 2 months out. And then putting in the motion that that be called as a special meeting, and then we can set up all those things. And it just becomes like a symposium or a conversation.
that sounds great. So I rescind my move.
Would you consider including other previous experts from AIM?
Sure.
Previous board members who have been through better times to be part of this now, in addition to Jackie? Jackie is an expert.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are many other.
Sure, yeah, she offered the idea. And so, and it was the first time anybody said, I'm happy to come and sit with you guys and tell you the story. And
So-
that's really what it comes down to, so.
So
if
the
there are
question, which they can't hear online, is would you consider inviting others, for instance, former board members or others in the discussion?
All right. And then the last one is.
So just to be clear, really quick,
Yes.
before we move on to the last motion that we're talking about here. So the idea is for us to coordinate at least 2 months from now with Jackie, with Alliance for Community Media, with other potential interested parties who have lots of institutional knowledge and history with AIM, to do like a proper listening session, understanding what community media, what AIM has been, and share that institutional knowledge in a special call meeting kind of thing. We have another question.
Just an observation. The more people you have participating at once, the less you're going to learn from each individual person.
Yeah.
The note was,
A series of meetings, starting with Jackie. She was
Yeah, true. Yeah, I was gonna repeat it,
So
but
there-
yeah, that's better.
Way to go, Jim.
Basically, the thing is that too many people, you don't get any communication. You don't have a narrative line. A series of meetings, one with Jackie, one with an organization that is experienced in this, and then another that can be a conglomerate meeting of producers or former board members of AIM, provides more structure, allows more focus on each individual person to fill out that area that they have expertise, and then you can see, you can ask questions, where else should we go from each of these to basically build a knowledge base for the board and the new players at AIM.
Right.
since they can't see you, yeah.
Tom Schad, SCHAAD.
Thank you so much.
And one of the specific threads of your summary there was within AIM and outside of AIM.
Awesome. That sounds like a really awesome conversational series to me that I look forward to getting to make happen. Heck yeah. Okay. Great discussion. Last motion from Amanda.
Wait, do we
Wait.
need to vote for that?
No, we do not need to vote for that.
Okay.
That was a discussion.
So the last one is that we have received an offer from JBG to break the lease, and the payment comes out to $7,574.84. And I am making a motion to accept the offer to break the Clarendon lease and seek the necessary funding to satisfy what JBG is asking for. There are some term limits I believe you said 90 days? So it'd be once we accept the offer, we have 90 days to pay them?
Well, we pass a motion here to accept the offer. Then I go back to JBG and get the actual legal document that memorializes the offer, and there will probably be a little bit of back and forth on dates and times. I'm not gonna argue about terms at this point. But the day we sign it, we are expected to pay 50%. And then within 90 days, pay the other 50%.
So it's a painful offer, but it's a necessary offer. I mean, we have to get out of this lease. It's not sustainable. And I don't have any brilliant ideas where we're gonna find the money right now, but it will also depend on when it has to be put on paper. But I do think it is important to accept this offer. I don't think we're gonna get a better deal.
Seconded.
Yeah, thank you, Zach. For also just clarification for anybody who might be confused, because we have lots of different leases in the air. This 2300 Clarendon space is the courthouse Plaza one that was supposed to be the AIM Live broadcast studio, has never been built out as such. Yeah. Is there any other, and we discussed at the last special call board meeting, we discussed I think that was the day that we had gotten that offer kind of just via email from JBG Smith, and we discussed that prospect at that meeting. And is there any further questions?
I do. So just to also review, so we have that lease, JVG, at 2300. 2300? Yep.
Yes.
And that's a 5-year lease?
Yes.
And that's
For about $40,000 a year, I think.
The total was just over 200,000.
200,000 over the 5 years?
Yes.
And they never use the space?
Nope.
And how long have been, the space has been ours? No?
Move-in was supposed to be in March.
Okay.
The lease was signed in December.
You're offering us a deal that we
Yes.
can break the lease by paying them $7,000, okay. And
Yeah.
and
So
we've been negotiating with them, that's, okay.
yeah, the idea of paying $7,000-ish over it, as opposed to paying about $200,000 over the course of 5 years sounds really good to me, while we, figure out how to recover, and then maybe be in a place where we can actually think about that kind of a space down the road.
And that would
From
be
a
on
better
top
place.
of the cost it would take to build out the space, to make
Exactly.
it so that we could use it as a radio.
And on that, I have a question. I think one of the ideas, maybe I'm wrong, is that the WRA would be, the radio station would be there because we'll be using the building to build out an antenna. Is that right?
The antenna is in that building already.
The antenna is in that building. So what's the consequence for that? Do we lose the antenna?
Nope.
The antenna was always there.
Okay.
So even when WRA was in Clarendon, it was using the same antenna.
So how, are we paying for that?
Yes.
So that's a separate lease?
Separate lease.
It doesn't have-
$541 a month.
Okay. And they are not tied in any way?
No. The lease for the tower is wholly separate. It's even through a third party that's not JBG Smith.
Okay.
So we pay them and they pay JBG.
And just like we had that antenna there and we had our facility elsewhere, if we were to decide to build the studio, say, in this building, it would be feasible, it would be
Yes.
possible.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Could I ask, as we're talking about paying bills, and there was Linda's bill, and there's this bill, what's our total commitment at the moment? How much do we owe? And we've got nothing in the bank?
Yeah. Amanda has a payable sheet. We are not confident in the amount of back wages that are owed to staff. We're still working through those calculations with ADP. But if you remove that line item, it's 130,000, 140,000. And then on top of that would be the back wages and statutory payouts like accrued vacation,
And we have no money in the bank, so
like $30 maybe.
It was,
fair.
we've got about $125 from donations right there.
And there is money in a second account that is designated funds from the county for very specific purposes and can only be used for those purposes, which we're primarily getting our insurances paid because they were in arrears and about to be canceled, and paying for the storage to secure the assets.
yeah, so that money, that second fund can't be used to pay these things. So where do we get the money from? Is that the Arlington money that's subject to audit might be released? I'm just trying to kind
Yeah,
of
yes.
add one and one and make three ideally, you know,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
That would be the hope.
The
but-
hope is that at the end of the audit, the quarterly payment that should have posted will be released. That's about $100,000. And then the hope continuing forward is that we would get the next year's appropriated money for AIM, which is $260,000.
so I guess we're kind of trying to agree in principle that we would pay this amount of money, but we're not going to sign the agreement until we've got the money because we've got to pay on the day of signing, right? Correct. Okay.
But we do need authority to enter into the agreement, which is what this motion will cover. And I think you should include in the motion authorizing Amanda to sign the legal document with JBG to settle the claim. And then once she's authorized, then we figure out the cash flow.
And I have another question. So given the motion that was passed earlier tonight, let's suppose that we had $15,000 in our checking account. That means that that money would be first dispersed to Linda, awesome, correct?
To American Express.
Correct, for covering, okay. And that means that we would have to raise another $7,000 to be in good terms with JBG for both 50%,
Yes.
50%, correct?
That's the ideal way this works out from a cash flow perspective. Those are our two most pressing payables. The other payables have varying terms or securities that can wait.
And you said the credit card will accrue interest starting in
Starting in June.
June 1st,
Yeah.
couple days. Okay. So we are looking at raising 15 plus $7,000-ish.
Yeah.
Knowing that there are also staff members that have not been fully paid too, correct?
To be clear, though, Linda Lawson's not getting paid as a staff member. American Express is getting paid. And it so happens that her name is attached to that account. This is not at all not paying attention to that the staff need to be paid. Richard and I have discussed over the last few days about the wages situation. The audit is looking at all of that, and there's little we can do to put it actually to be paid, because we don't really know what the numbers are going to be yet. Things are moving around still.
Yeah.
I apologize. We don't know how much we owe to the staff?
No.
We
do
don't know?
not. ADP had at least one significant error in the last payroll push. So it is my understanding that they issued pay stubs but didn't actually pay money, which is a problem. ADP should not do this because that income will be reported to the government for those employees. So we've got a lot of unwinding to do with ADP to like void out those pay stubs and recalculate and then pay. And if anybody knows ADP, they don't move quickly, and we're very small. So we're doing our best to get their attention, but it will take some time to get them to get us into a place where we can recalculate.
And speaking of time, is there a sense at the moment of where the audit is and when that money might be releasable? Are we talking about potentially releasable?
Yeah. So at this moment, you're on still on document requests, right? So the document requests have gotten much more specific, which in my mind is good news because it says they've narrowed down to what they need. The next phase of the audit is field, which is matching purchases to fixed assets. That could be quick, should be quick, because we only have a few places to store fixed assets. And then they go into draft reporting mode. So I feel like we're in the 30 to 60 days from a draft report. That doesn't say what the county is going to ask for next, right? They'll look at the draft report just like we will, and then we'll begin another conversation around the outcome of that audit.
So we're looking probably, even with wind in the sails, it's not going to be before September, is it really?
That's my hope is that we're there by the end of summer, at least having the conversation.
Claire, can you look at the chat online, please?
I'm seeing that the most recent thing in the chat is that the speaker from the audience was Tom Shad.
Nope, they sent it to the, sorry, they didn't send it generally.
Gotcha. Would you be, whoever sent a message.
Can you send it to the host? Can you send your message to the host, please, to Claire?
I'm the host. You can send it directly to me to read. You can also send the message to meeting group chat to be seen by everybody. If you have a question. Okay. The question is for Richard. What does recalculate mean? Are you implying that the amount ADP had listed that staff were being paid was inaccurate?
I can't speak to the accuracy. The issue is that they issued a pay stub without giving the employees the money. So those employees will have income reported to the IRS and to the Commonwealth that they will be expected to pay tax on, but no tax was withheld because no money changed hands. So when I say recalculation, I'm saying there's a problem with those pay stubs. They have to be backed out. Or they have to tell us what the amount is that we transfer in that makes those pay stubs correct, right?
And we don't have that money.
But we don't have the money. And all this stuff changes as days go by. So I can't say with certainty what that amount is until we get deeper into it with ADP.
And regarding to the staff members, are they're employees, they're not contractors? Or they are, or there is both?
There's both, but the ADP system only covers people who were direct employees.
And those, okay. And is it okay to mention that we talk about who they are?
We can talk about who they are, yeah.
So that was Linda, one of them?
It was Whitney, Linda, Steve Burgoon, Kristen Clark, and Ashton Robbins.
So those 5 individuals, they have not been paid their last salary? What are we talking about? Like last month or the last quarter?
The March 14th payroll.
Right.
And this just came to my attention.
Right.
Because I was trying to find out some information and I learned that nobody actually got paid on the 14th. I was under the impression that the staff had been paid at that time. So now we're going backwards to the pay cycle before that to ensure that that actually went into their accounts. And then trying to figure out what happened. And it's good. I talked to 3 different ADP people today. It's going to be very difficult to figure out who we talk to about this March 14th.
And for clarification, March 14th is the date pay stubs were issued, but no pay happened. So that's the big question mark. We believe that, until we're told otherwise, we now believe the last pay was February 29,
Yeah.
leap day?
Yeah, I don't know if that would have been just the pay cycle day that would have been
Okay.
for actually March 1st. I don't know.
Right, but that very end of February, beginning of March, that pay stub should be correct for employees. And this is pressing because it's tax season, so.
And those employees, they were terminated. Are they terminated?
Yes.
Didn't hear something that they were terminated or they were laid off or whatever in December.
There were several cycles of layoffs versus, no, it wasn't layoffs, it was furloughs. Yes, that's the term, thank you. There were a couple of cycles of furloughs and then officially March 18th was the date that all staff received official notices of termination of their employment, including the former CEO. That letter was from the board as her employer.
And the furlough was unpaid?
Which those?
The furlough that took place in December? Or the furloughs, the cycles of furloughs, were they paid or unpaid?
They were, it was because payroll could not be made that employees were furloughed,
Yeah.
was my understanding.
So are we in debt for that or?
I don't believe so.
I think back pay on that has already been satisfied.
Yeah. So the December furlough, shortly thereafter, the third quarterly support payment from the county went to AIM, and that was $125,000. So my assumption is, at the beginning of the year, when that payment credited, payroll was made good for whoever had been furloughed or delayed in December. I don't see any balances owed in the ADP system going that far back. The only errors are in the February-March time.
And Stephen sent a message to me in the chat saying that pay was taken care of, specifically the furlough pay.
Okay.
Correct, Stephen?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for trying to unravel all of this. I mean, volunteer board members is not your job, but I wouldn't want to be doing it.
We don't know about the accuracy of the numbers, but are we talking about 5, 10, 15? What are we talking about? Is it permissible to?
I am budgeting a significant amount. I'm budgeting 100 because I don't know all the moving parts.
Wait, you're saying that we owe staff 100,000? Maybe owing staff 100,000.
Correct.
Oh.
Because
Those
we're
five
not talking
individuals.
about just a final paycheck,
Those 5
right?
individuals.
We're talking about the pay for now from the end of February through the middle of March that wasn't paid. People worked into the next pay cycle, which was mid to late March. So there's a partial pay there. But at the time of termination, we also owe statutory payouts for accrued vacation. So there's additional monies that by law we must pay out. So we have to keep some reserves. Well, we have no cash, it's not reserves. We have to keep at least a line item in the budget to account for the unknowns at this moment.
So with all of that context, what we had been discussing was the offer to break the 2300 Clarendon lease and authorize Amanda to sign that paperwork once JBG Smith offers that to us. Is there any more discussion, contextual information that this board needs to vote on that motion, or for somebody to move and somebody to second that motion? for the board to take a vote.
I would just add the comment that the last meeting I was able to attend, I was asked what our fundraising goal should be, and I said 10,000 with a stretch of 20. I would say we now need to raise 25,000. We have 2 solid payables that we need to pay now in good faith and to maintain our ethics as an organization. And then as we continue forward with the audit and as we continue forward with hopefully getting county monies coming in, hopefully that county funding lines up with us being able to determine the ADP mess, and those payables become eligible from that, but they're eligible for that bucket of money as well. But I don't, for the 2 that we're talking about, the Linda, which we've covered, and JBG, which is on the table now, we don't have a lot of grace period left.
I would say going into the vote as well, one thing that strikes me is I've just replaced my AC and my furnace. It cost me a lot of money. I didn't like paying it. But unless we get through these payments, we're not going to have a station, we're not going to have TV, we're not going to have AIM. And so painful though all of this is, and thanks so much for unraveling it, we've got to pay this to be able to move on to the next step, and the board and the producers want us to move on to the next step. So for me, that's the context of all of this, painful though it is we just got to knock these obstacles out of the way.
Yeah.
You're here. Okay, so does anybody, any last?
In regards to
questions?
JBG lease, nope.
Okay. Is there an official person who moves to accept the offer to break the 2300 Clarendon lease and seek the necessary funding to satisfy JBG Smith's offer and authorize Amanda McKay, sorry, is it McKay or Mackay? Mackay, thank you so much, to sign the documentation, paperwork for that. Dan moves. I would like to second. And, sorry, seeing questions from the chat that I can't read right now. All in favor, say aye.
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 The ayes have it. Any noes? Any abstentions? Thank you so much. Okay. That was a lot of motions. I'm excited about movement. I'm excited about progress forward and things happening. So the next item on the agenda, and I want to kind of move a little bit quickly through this because we have 45 minutes left on this meeting. We had a Voices of Arlington event last Thursday, live podcast recording. Is there anybody in this room, board members or audience members, members of the public, who would like to speak to that event? Tell us how it went. And if not, then we can move on to the next
I
item.
apologize,
Yeah,
I did not attend the event. It took place.
that is my understanding. Rhonda organized a live podcast recording event. I was not able to attend it. But my hope is that, yes. Thank you.
I did not realize that that was a thing.
Yeah.
So, but no, to the best of my
Yuli,
knowledge, because.
can you identify yourself, please?
Oh, I am Ulysses Campbell, longtime AIM member, former board member, guilty as charged. So I believe that ultimately the president was satisfied with the event. My role was simply to try and facilitate her vision for what this was going to be. And so what we did was we set up some cameras and we had her conduct some interviews of some AIM members. There was actually another AIM member who is a part of the weekly news who interviewed another AIM member. And that footage has not been edited as of yet, But in terms of trying to demonstrate some of the capabilities of the organization, the president seemed pleased. So that much I can tell you. Does anyone have any questions about the event? Randy Cohen.
Just how was it advertised? Because this is my first hearing about this.
I got an email. Can anybody speak to how it was advertised? Because I don't actually know.
Hi, Randy and Yuli. Hi, it was an announcement in Arl Now, I saw. And we distributed it on Discord.
And then Rhonda also created a, I am the person who typically manages the MailChimp newsletters. Rhonda created an email and sent that out to members on that list. I did not receive much other direction from her in terms of further advertising that event. And as the person who is responsible for the communications, I do apologize for not doing a better job of working to promote that. Yeah.
Wait, Kate was there. How did you hear about it?
The MailChimp thing.
Okay, well, evidently it worked. Oh, wait. And you were here too?
I was there too. Much to my surprise, I was interviewed and I heard it was a podcast. As one who has never listened to a podcast or watched one, as I told them, you know, I have a face for radio, but I had no idea.
Mary, how did you hear about it?
There was an email somewhere along the line, but it was unclear as to whether it was a meeting or what. I used to work in this building when it belonged to WETA years ago.
Okay, well.
Thank you very much.
For those who were here, did you pay any money to attend? And also, how many attendees were there?
I did not pay any money, but I suppose I would have liked to have asked anybody else if they paid any money before I answered that question. Did you pay any money?
No, not a chance.
Did you pay any money?
No.
Okay.
Five of us here, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Okay, but also I wasn't under the impression that it was a fundraising opportunity. Oh, okay, I hadn't gotten that impression.
Okay.
So, does anybody else have any questions?
Yes, this is Don online. Where or when can we watch this video podcast event?
Well,
edited or unedited?
That is a very good question, and I was not given any precise direction on that. So I am assuming that I will be the one who ends up editing it. And now that you have kind of put me on the spot, Don, I am going to try and get this thing together just as quickly as I can.
We can continue that particular conversation offline, I think, and figure out what is the best use of our time. There's also been, let's see, I will let you all know that a little bit later in this meeting, I will be speaking to efforts to improve communications with members. So yes, yeah, I think we are understanding, and I think we can move on, if that sounds good. We've also discussed throughout various points in this meeting.
Can I interject briefly?
Question from Hef.
Just for the record, I attended the Board of Directors meeting on May the 2nd, and my notes show that Kim Phillip was putting together Voices of Arlington live podcast, 100 Arlington authors, May 23rd at Black Box Theater, tickets by a donation. So that was at the Board of Directors meeting on May 2nd, 2024.
Do you have notes that Kim Phillip was involved in that?
That is what my notes simply say, Kim Phillip, and then Voices of Arlington, live podcast, 100 Arlington authors, May 23rd at Black Box Theater, tickets via donation, fundraiser.
Thank you so much.
So you guys at the board who were at the meeting had some awareness of it.
Thank you so
I
much.
also note that it was not, I was interested, but there was nothing on AIM's Facebook page indicating that it was still a thing. So anyway,
Be
we need to
addressing
get more Facebook
things very soon, I promise you.
page real, because they had other announcements on AIM's Facebook
Yeah,
page.
thank you
not
so
that.
much. I will be addressing these matters very soon.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
That's just for the record.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay, so we've discussed that AIM needs to very immediately be raising $25,000 independent of what the county is able to hopefully give us pending audit things. And now that we have a, sorry?
I disagree. I apologize. I think that we do need the amounts for Linda, for the JBG lease break, but we at the same time need to pay the staff. I think it's part also of.
It's not a question. It's, yeah.
Absolutely.
There's
but I
no-
think it's in my view of importance of things, I put those things together in the same line. Just my opinion.
I understand. I've been in cases like this before at the end of a business where you want to be kind to the employees, and I do as well. But we have two problems. I don't know what we owe them until ADP helps us figure out what we owe them, and then we have to secure those funds.
Which are substantial, as you mentioned.
Which are substantial. So.
But therefore, I don't feel comfortable saying that we need $25,000. That's what we need. I think we need more. I don't know how to phrase it.
Sure.
How, we should advertise that. If the fundraising committee will be responsible for putting up ideas in the plan. But in my opinion, if somebody asked me, how much do you need immediately, I would say, whatever its amount for the employees plus those other two line items. Sure.
Yeah, I'm also very, I think all of us here are very invested in making sure that as soon as we possibly can, staff, former staff, and people who contributed long, hard hours for the survival of this organization get paid what they're owed. I think that we're all here trying to do what we possibly can to make that happen.
Production update.
Yes. Status of WERA broadcast equipment situation. Do we have any updates on that? Or is it just same?
It's all secure, same, and we're looking forward to being able to move it into a staging situation.
Awesome. Fabulous. Okay. Next item on the agenda is communication/joint producers rep kind of update. As you can see, communications from this board, it is not good. It sucks, and that's very much on me. And we've had.
It's much better, yes. Don't be, you're being too hard.
Oh my goodness.
You're not supposed to have to do this. What the CEO and staff are supposed to do. Act as disseminators.
Can I ask that if people are going to make comments, that they please use the microphone?
Can you please, no, I know, we just need to, I know, it's not time for public comment right now, but I still appreciate your help and your support. And the situation that we are in is that I am doing communications, and I am not doing a very good job of that, and so thank you so much for your patience, and thank you so much to Ken and Jeff and Aparna, who have volunteered to help be on a communications squad to help with the management of the Facebook groups, the Facebook pages, the Instagram, the Twitter. We're going to be meeting next week to figure out what exactly, like how do we make sure that everybody who is operating on different, channels of communication gets the same information. I've been prioritizing MailChimp, the newsletter, because that is just the most, easiest way to do that for me at this time. And so that is where sort of my priorities have been. And but I know there's also the Discord for members and producers to be talking with each other. And we want to be making sure that AIM's website is also a usable thing and doesn't have out-of-date information. There's a lot of things to do. And so that's all going to be that's all on the table. So anybody else who would like to help with that, even if it's just, taking a look at the website and figuring out what's wrong with it from a basic user's perspective, please shoot me an email.
So there is a meeting taking place next week?
Yes, and
I'd
if
like to
anybody,
be
awesome.
Yeah.
You want to be a part of it?
Yes.
Awesome.
Could I jump in on there as well and
Yeah.
just say, so on the communication side, at one point I looked at all of the Facebook pages. We have 4 Facebook pages, 2 which are controlled by AIM, where you've got to be an administrator, 2 which are the producers' ones. It was a sad story. I mean, as I think Jeff just said, the communications in the past month or so have gotten better than they were for the past 2 years, because there's nothing coming out before. But when you look at those pages, it's a pretty sad story. Some of them, there's not been anything posted since like March or even earlier. Some of them, there's been like 3 things posted in the past 2 years. And so looking at that, we said, okay, well, Claire can't do it all. And so we've got a couple of volunteers, Jeff Hoffman and Aparna Sain, and Arno's also offered to help out, though he admits English is not his first language. But hell, let's do it in French.
Yeah.
It'll be even better. Everything sounds better in French. So they're going to, from this meeting, there is a communications plan. It's a very short kind of 1-2 page plan. I don't know who did it. It's been a couple of months, but I think that gives us structure. It's a good plan. It's a simple, straightforward, good plan. And now we've got a few bodies there to help. And so that's another Discord thing. There is some confusion out there about the Discord thing. Discord was probably created, I wasn't there when it was created, it came out of the 3 Whistles group, because the communication was so lacking in all of the other platforms. I regret a little bit that we've got another layer, but it's a layer that's been working, so what the hell? Let's go with that until we get everything cleaned up and so on. So that's where we're at, and we just want to be putting things out. We'll be talking about the survey as well, and a few people in the survey were commenting that we need to be communicating both internally better and externally to tell the public that we do exist, we do hope to be back, and so that's part of it as well. But we're at the start, it's been bad in the past. It can only get better. I don't think it can get worse. So.
Can I back up just one thing for clarification? I want to make sure that it's spoken out loud. WERA is not the only part of AIM. We have AIM TV, and we are going to be restoring that equipment as well. So when we're talking about the equipment for AIM, it's not just for WERA to do broadcast. We're going to be exploring this building to see how we can set things up for both things, but all of the equipment that needs to be used by both AIM TV and WERA exists and will be restored.
Great, and we need volunteer producers from the TV side as well to be working on these things, because at the moment, the WERA producers are stepping up, and they can't really do the communications on the AIM, on the TV side, so that's where we need more support too.
Just a big technical question. I know that for the radio, we have the FCC license, so we're able to keep it for now and such. What about for the TV? I know there was a cable channel at a point. Do we still have that? Or?
I don't know.
We do. So the cable channel is provided to AIM through the franchise agreements with both Verizon and Comcast. So Arlington County, as part of allowing Verizon and Comcast to operate, gets a channel each for the schools, the government, and for AIM. So those channels aren't going away, and there's no requirement to keep broadcast going like there is on the radio side. So TV can be dark for however long until we get it back up. The signal path will be a question mark, because wherever we establish the television base, Comcast and Verizon have to meet us to pick up that television signal and then put it out on the cable system. But that signal only goes to cable. It doesn't go out over the air on an antenna.
Right now, it's like,
It's just dark.
Could I add one more thing on communications as well? Is when Jeff was looking to send out the survey to everybody, we found the email lists were
In great disarray.
in great disarray. It's a good way to put it. And so that was the decision at the end of the day. Let's get that survey out fast. Let's move it to the people we know exist. There's no reason why we can't do a second subsequent survey to a broader audience. But we moved it fast because the email lists have been ignored, have been left to fall to pieces for a couple of years.
Yeah, and my mom taught me to clean up messes, so that's what I'm doing my best to do. Do you want to speak at all to just briefly on the survey that was sent out, or any just kind of brief?
Damn right,
ideas?
because it's always nice to talk about something positive. So, as I said, the volunteers stepped up. This came out of that Three Whistles meeting that I was in Portugal at the time, didn't see it, but the producers who showed up at that meeting said, we should do a survey. We've had so little communication, we don't know who we are anymore, and we don't know what's what. So, at the initiative of Andy Rosenberg and Arnaud, they started to build this survey and ran it by myself and Jeff. We finalized it, ran it by the board to make sure that this wasn't some kind of a maverick thing going on and that everybody was aware of what was going out in the survey. And it went out a week ago to 43 people. That was the list of people that they had from the meeting at the Three Whistles. And did I say fast and dirty? The results were analyzed and turned back within a week. And the results were awesomely interesting. We've shared them with the board, and we will be sharing them with members when we work out the mailing list and who to send it to. But just a couple of very, very brief things on it. What came out of that? Some people will be surprised, some people won't be surprised. Nearly all of the producers remain keen to get back on air. Most people want to come back and they want to put their shows on. A couple of format changes, but on the whole, they want to do it. They also explained why their programs are important and valuable to the community. And I won't go into it because I couldn't do justice to the quality of the comments. Most of them say they have existing episodes available which don't need editing, so that if we get the radio up and running in whatever way, or the TV up and running as well, there are episodes there ready to go. We don't have to kind of regenerate stuff. At some stage, nearly 25% of producers had sponsors for their programs, so there was some money coming in. It's complex. Most of the producers expressed a willingness to volunteer, and they have skills. They detail the skills that they have to volunteer. The challenge that they have is not knowing how, where, and for whom to volunteer. They're not being asked yet to volunteer, but we'll get to that as well. You may not agree with this, but 80% of the producers who responded are willing to pay an increase in membership fees, double the membership fees from what they currently are, which is a very small $25 figure. And some are saying even more, but the majority say double the membership fees. Some producers are willing to donate, didn't say how much, but the majority of producers are saying, hang on a second, we want to see that our money is going to go somewhere and build on something. We want to see the plans, we want to see the structures before we'll donate. And then finally, there was a whole bunch of questions about strategy, earning trust with the community and so on. And they're just really valuable content. Amanda read them, and you came back and said, wow, this is very validating to see this. So for Jennifer and for the recovery committee, it's going to be critically important that they've got this body of ideas, suggestions, fears, concerns, and all the rest of it to feed into this process right away. So within a week, at zero cost, I think Jeff deserves an ice cream at least if we can stretch that from the Arlington budget. We've actually got some data, we've got some information, and it's really bloody positive as well, so tip top.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so that is, also just wanted to state for the record that in the last board meeting, we passed an electronic meetings policy per some deeply complicated Commonwealth laws that, according to Richard, are now being changed again in July. Yes, so fun things about quorum and in-person versus Zoom meetings, and more fun to come, I bet. But just so that y'all know about that. And so with the remaining 25-ish minutes of this meeting, I'd love to go to time for public comment. I guess probably starting with some of the questions from online, and we can go back and forth. Do we want to do the questions from the chat that have kind of populated, and then, or kind of go back and forth between in-person and online? Who am I asking? What did you say?
I'd bounce back.
Back and forth. Okay, cool. Let's see. So if anybody has a question, go for it. And state your name for the record.
Oh, Sean. About the audit. I know that it's the linchpin for everything until that's complete. What will the product be like? Will we understand between that and the minutes that will be published now that they've been approved, what decisions were made to put money here, there, and everywhere? And will we know where the money, not the salaries for the staff, where the monies and to what entities those monies were dispersed? Will that information be clear in the final summary, or is that a goal? Or is it just a matter of finding out how deep the hole is and where, if we get the money has to go to fill up the hole?
So I would say both. Amanda and I are doing our level best to quantify the depth of the hole, and that's outside of the audit scope. However, we are telling them, we're showing them so that they have some sense of what payables are in arrears. The goal of the audit is to determine how monies that were given to the organization with specific appropriation requirements, especially the PEG capital, it has very specific rules. To a lesser extent, the operational monies, but to determine the flow of those monies. Where did they go? And was that an appropriate use of those funds? There will be questions about decision-making, about accounting standards. There will be some very technical stuff in the report, I'm sure, but also some guidance on basic governance that the organization needs to adopt to prevent the same scenario from occurring in the future.
You have a question online from John Ahmed. In the likelihood that Arlington County requires the reimbursement of the misused PEG funds, how does the board intend to address that?
That is a question we cannot answer, and I would encourage you to speak with your elected representatives.
Jackie Stephen asks, I would like to know the disposition of the 2022 and 2023 minutes. I assume that means meeting minutes.
So format-wise, they have been approved by the boards. They are approved meeting minutes, but they are my chicken scratch, effectively. They're not formatted in the way that minutes are typically formatted. So what I would, I guess, like to ask is, what we can certainly do is put all of make publicly available the minutes from the December annual meeting until the most recent meeting. Those will be made publicly available. But I mean, I think I need to have some conversations with probably Richard just about the appropriateness of putting 2023 and earlier minutes on like just AIM's website.
Yeah, we have to.
Yes.
The question will be, how do we make sure they fit the formatting requirements?
Yeah.
So I've shared with Claire what the Commonwealth requires for formatting and content in minutes. And to be fair to everyone, it wasn't clear it wasn't clear to AIM prior to very recently that AIM is a public body. It was clear at various points in the past, but that got lost a little bit. And so a lot of my educational activities with this board has been, here's how public bodies operate, not just a not-for-profit board. So while they may be chicken scratch, we'll get them formatted to comply with the statute, and then they have to go online. And generally speaking, all those are FOIA-able. Someone could ask us, and we would have to set them.
So more fun work for me.
So, and just to understand, so what do you have? Do you have like a Word document to start with? What are we talking about? You have a Word document that is not formatted? What do you mean exactly?
Yes, basically I have a bunch of PDFs that there's like a way that minutes look that is, there's a more standard formatting than just notes that I've taken and looked for typos and stuff, but there's certain things about like in minutes sometimes you just say discussion as opposed to, and then sometimes if you go into executive session, like there's certain things that are informative and necessary to put in minutes, but then you don't need to like put the very detailed minutia, and I put a lot of detailed minutia in there, which is good, but to the extent that it is like a useful document to read, that's what I'm just trying to figure out. But yes, it's a bunch of PDFs that I think I just need to like go over and make sure that like everything's okay. But like they have been approved as official minutes by the board. Yes.
And they were created by the secretary at the time?
Yes.
Was that you?
That was me.
Okay.
Yes. So minutes exist. Yes.
So in double trouble.
What?
So you have to review your.
It's gonna be so fun. So fun. Lots of things.
So
So much formatting.
how many? So we're talking about the past, right?
Yes.
So the past can be 1980s, whatever when it was established. So what are we talking about here?
Another thing that I've been trying to do as secretary, which has been waylaid by many other things that I've had to do as secretary, has been to put together a much more like better organized archive of board materials and board minutes. And I have a lot of those, very much thanks to Lynn and thanks to other past board members who have sent me things. But prior to me trying to put things in a space that in an evergreen way could be accessed by all board members and then eventually also public, what is appropriate to be public facing, I've been trying to work on that archive so that that exists after me. And yes, I also know that Hef has had his hand up for a while and I want to get to you next. In terms of what I think is most relevant to prioritize, while my term still exists, I want to, before October, get 2023 and 2022 to the best of my ability, publicly accessible for everybody to look at. And that's, that's admin committee meeting minutes, that's board meeting minutes, lots of documents. So yeah.
So all the meetings that are needed to have the notes from 2022 to present.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we're talking about 100 meetings or 10 meetings?
Probably, I would estimate like 50. maybe, something like that. Yeah, so thank you for your patience. It's a lot of things to get through. Does that answer questions?
No, wait, and
Yes.
what about a timeline specific? You said October, so you intend to finish that by October?
That
that
is
what
my
you said?
goal, yes. I will be able to have the tranche of minutes that we just approved, all of 2024's minutes. That'll be on the website. I want to get that on the website and get this meeting recording and the past meeting recording on AIM's YouTube within a week from today. That is what I'm committing to right now. So,
I think
yes.
given the sensitivity for the auditing and people want to understand what was the board, decision-making along the CEO and such, I don't know, for me it's
Do you
easy
want me
because
to-
I'm not
do you want me
doing
to
anything.
expedite that?
How can that be expedited? Is there any way, is that a work that can be done with assistance of somebody else, or is there?
I would love to get that done sooner. So maybe you and me can have some chats.
Here's what we can do. I know what can and cannot be redacted, and I know what has to be redacted, which is really what it comes down to. There's certain personnel issues that have to be redacted. And rather than spend a lot of time teaching, we do need to have a FOIA workshop as a whole board, but now is not the time. I can help you do a FOIA pass and basically say, these are the things that by law we can't release. These are the things that by law we must release, and then we can post them.
Just, I'm not familiar with FOIA in the Commonwealth. If, let's suppose that we receive a FOIA request today, how long we have until?
5 days.
Okay, so we need to expedite that.
And at the end of 5 days, you can ask for 5 more days if you are having trouble. But we would have a hard time saying we're having trouble. We don't have a county's worth of data to sort through. We have a small amount of data. So I would stick with the 5-day performance. And it's 5 business days.
Cool. Let's you and me chat because we have not a lot of time left in this meeting, but yeah, that is a big priority of mine, I promise you guys. So thank you for holding me to account on that. Question from Hef.
Well, there were two. I guess the first one that I guess is pressing. It's been a couple of months since I suggested that AIM's existing YouTube channel be utilized to allow producers who are continuing to create content to get some stuff up there where the public can see them and then advertise the YouTube channel so the public knows that AIM is not dead. And nothing's happened except I see a note from Jackie to the effect that somebody was able to put something up on an active YouTube channel. And I don't know who controls the access to the official AIM YouTube channel, which is still up there. And nothing's happened in the last couple of months. So is anything going to happen? Does anybody know how that YouTube channel even works?
Yes, that's all me. I put the meeting of members from April 17th up on the YouTube channel most recently. I do have access to that.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it does take time and effort to figure out a system for how programming through YouTube would work. So if you're interested in being a part of an effort to make that happen, I would love to see that happen.
Okay, quite apart from effort, can you share? Look, I know you can share permissions. I've done it myself. It doesn't have to all be on you.
Let's chat about this more. Yeah, I'd love to
And
figure this out.
Claire, it took us until a few weeks ago to have access to the YouTube account.
Yeah.
Google, when you don't pay for things, Google is not great at giving customer support. And the YouTube account was and is tied to a free brand account that I had to basically brute force my way into, which took several weeks. Big shout out and thank you to Jackie Stevens, because for some reason it was still associated with her telephone number, and she was able to give me those 6-digit codes you need. Without that, we would not have had a YouTube channel.
That's good for everybody else. I already knew that because I've already done this for several years. I'm acquainted with it. The other question I had I think it was an April meeting a general meeting, it was stated that AIM would still have a booth at the Arlington County Fair, which, by the way, would be a great way to do fundraising. Is that still going to be a thing? Because I'll come down. I'll drive down to Arlington again to be part of that booth if there is a booth.
I'm getting some keys. I'm gonna find the booth. I've got the fair on my calendar as something that AIM needs to be doing.
Okay.
So let's talk later on.
If you have a booth, I'll be there
All right,
with history.
good. I like it.
That's it from me.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments, either from online or in person? Ken?
One further comment to acknowledge Lynn Borton, who's just won a national award for her
Yep,
Choose to Be Curious program.
that's right.
Okay. Is there any additional business that we should discuss?
Not business, but one last comment. Last time I was here, people asked how they could donate. And I said checks, because I don't know how all the donation systems work. In the interim, Amanda and I have also brute forced our way through the donation systems. And so we now have access to both the Give Lively platform and the Stripe account. We have pointed that at a new bank account for donations. So we are open for donations again by credit card through the internet.
I would also just like to say that we have indeed, an email went out about this, but I also want to just state it out loud here, that the next meeting of members that was requested via motion at the last meeting of members in April, that meeting, the new meeting, second meeting of members will take place on Wednesday, July 24th from 7 to 9 p.m. here in the Black Box Theater and via Zoom. And then we'll also have another quarterly board meeting on Wednesday, August 21st from 7 to 9 here and via Zoom as well. So that's meeting of members on Wednesday, July 24th, and quarterly board meeting Wednesday, August 21st. And then I saw another hand. No. All right. Okay. Well, that being everything, this meeting is adjourned at 8:53 p.m. Thank you all so much.
Thanks all.